on Table Talk today, we're going to have a conversation on an interesting initiative that's offering support to a sort of sidelined population of society, the widows. Thank you so much for joining us, Nicole, and thank you so much for joining us, Seraphine. Share with us the history behind Widows Window initiative.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you for having us. Widows Window was birthed from something I thought I would do as a CSR in 2012. But after that, I like to see it like it chose me. It had my name on it. Why I called it Widows Window is because when I first met that group of widows in 2012, about 12 to 15 of them, I realized they live such a shut out life. And I figured the only way I'll know about them is if I take a peek at their window. Because if I imagine them in a house, then their door is locked, but they will always draw the curtains to let the light in. So I called it Widows Window just so that I could take a peek at their lives and what they face just through their window, because they're also very closed in and they've been so vulnerable in the past. That's where Widows Window was birthed.
That's a very beautiful inspiration to start an organization. I would want to know, even as you peeped into their window, what whispers did you eavesdrop on? What movements did you assess and see that would, in a sense, call you to act and move so that the society can be able to offer support for this segregated population?
All right, thank you. So after that first interaction with them, I realized that what people consider they go through is really belittled. It's not taken for the real value as it is, for the real impact that they're facing. I realized at that point that when I gifted some of them, when I hugged some of them, they said, no one has hugged me in the past 3 years. No one has gifted me since my husband died, whether it was about 8 years ago or 6 months ago. And I was so moved. I realized that they're also a bit defensive on just wanting to find out about them because they've been so vulnerable in the past. They've been so looked down upon and misjudged. So those are some of the things that I've come to familiarize myself with, among other small details, being women and just who they are and having children to take care of and being limited almost in resources and just lifestyle. There is so much that they're facing.
We'll expand the conversation on culture because that opens the door on some of the cultural stereotypes that we have as an African population in relation to widows. Seraphine, everyone who's a partner has a story, and what inspires them to join an initiative. Share with us yours and how you felt this is a platform that I want to support other women in so that they can be able to find comfort even in their state of separation from society in a sense.
Thank you. For me, this was a pleasant surprise to find a young girl. She herself is not a widow, but she has such a strong passion for them, and she wanted to work with somebody who has been through the experience, somebody that has a passion like her. And I found that we are kindred spirits. So when she asked me to support her, I felt, yes, this is a good opportunity for us to speak for the voiceless, the widows. Because I have found that, for example, in churches, in government, churches have movements for youth, for the singles, for parents, but they didn't have anything for widows. Nobody actually thought consciously about them as a group that requires attention. So we felt that we can do this, we can work together, and just raise awareness about this group of people that need support, that need to speak in a way that is not without anger, but just to let people know that there is a group of people like widows that should be considered, thought about, and be treated as part of the rest of the society.
What are some of the cultural misgivings, even before we come back to you, what are some of the cultural misgivings that you saw that led to even religious institutions separating this very special population that can be very effective in society?
I don't think that being ignored was a conscious decision. It is just that the focus in society is different. That sometimes, unless you have somebody who prods you, you may not think about a group of people that are probably crying out for help. It needs somebody to plant that seed somewhere so that somebody can say, yeah, we could do something about this. Traditionally, of course, many of our African societies treat widows very differently. I think our identity as as women, as wives, lasts as long as your husband is alive. Once he's gone, then you realize that this is the person that they loved, this is the person they knew, and you become an appendage. You become an afterthought. That's what happens. And that's what many of us have experienced.
Unfortunately, the identity of a woman is whitewashed the moment the husband is passed on.
Yes.
When you're looking at such cultural perceptions of the place of a woman in society, it sort of disqualifies you the moment you're a widow. How have you been facing such cultural challenges in trying to re-establish the place of very efficient, very capable women who are widows, yes, but they're also able to still offer their strength for the development of the nation?
Based on what Widows Window has been able to achieve so far, my strategy was to at least spend 3 years just interacting, because it's a one annual event that happens every first or second weekend of December. So actually this is our 3rd year, and we are so glad that we have at least 100 widows now that have come out. For them, I'm sure it's a step. Serafina would tell you that to come out and say, yes, I'm a widow, it's a bold step for them, I came to realize. So what I've come to discover are some of, from what you're asking, the cultural impacts and the things that have happened, is that I try to create awareness in my social circles, on my website, just as a family. Begin to think now, because tomorrow is not confirmed. Today is a present. Today is a gift. Think of your wife as a husband and love her. How much do you love her? Do you love her only for now? Does she know the finer details that make you her husband? Does she know your real earnings? Does she know your real assets? Even if she doesn't know them, those are the questions that have come up that Serafina is working with me on. How can we make sure that the younger women who are trying to earn a living by going to work or supporting their husbands by raising the children can have a secure future in the event that the man is no longer there? What can we do to make sure that she knows his office, she knows the location of the bank account, she has the number, or does she only get 1,500 to buy food every week or every month? You know, those finer details, I believe they're the big contributors to the final impact on a widow when the husband is missing in action.
We'll expand that conversation a little later when you're dealing with looking at men as partners in the conversation of the next generation.
Yes.
But I would want to touch on the recruitment.
On that?
You've just touched on the fact that it takes a lot of courage for women to come out and say, I am a widow, and I'm still interested in being an important part of society, changing the way people see my particular population as a widow and also as a very efficient woman in society. Seraphine, we'll start with you. What courage does it take to come out and say I'm a widow? Does it carry with it some sort of misconception, stereotype, discrimination?
I think that first and foremost, a lot of people we do not want to talk about it as if it's a very special group, because there are many others who would come up with an issue that is a problem and they say nobody is paying attention to us. But the point is this, that yes, there is a group of people, widows and widowers, people who have lost their spouses. And that is a fact. The fact that people are silent and not referring to them as such does not make the issue go away. Secondly, some of the problems that we experience are as a result of exactly that, people putting a blank screen in front of their faces about the widows. And it is not something that they treat with the importance that it deserves, even in families. You will find that probably because you're not complaining, you're not asking for help, it is assumed that you're okay. Or if you ask for help, you become a burden, so that you do not want to be excluded from things that are going on in the family, in the society, because you're a person who is needy. And how did this need arise? Because your husband died unexpectedly. It is not something that you plan for. Even when you take your marriage vows, they say till death do us part. But nobody thinks about death. We all, even the African society, thinks positively about a long life with your partner, children, family members. So when this happens, a lot of us, many people in communities do not know how to deal with that issue. It is something that is kind of blank. it is not given the importance that it requires.
Yeah. When you're looking at the family setting, this brings up a lot of sensitive issues, recognizing that death is part of what life is. It's a part of what the journey of life is. Looking at some of the challenges that emerge from that, as Seraphine has just mentioned, the moment you open your mouth and ask for assistance, it may just be once, but that highlights you as a problem. Or you may just be intent on offering your perspective, but you're silenced because your voice does not matter. How are you navigating that? Because dealing with the challenges that come with this particular population, you cannot avoid recognizing that they might have familial issues that you'd want to highlight.
All right.
Yeah.
I'd just like to also confirm that just giving what you're asking is actually what structure are we giving Widows Window. That's actually our strategy for this event, the one that is happening on December 5th, whereby we'll ask the women to now begin accepting and owning Widows Window, where they can actually form groups and choose leaders who they feel will best represent them. I, not being a widow, should not limit me in creating a platform for them to be able to even advise, because women will learn from each other and learn, oh, okay, so this could happen at any time. What will I do at that time? Even a widower, I could lose my wife. She might be the sole breadwinner or the higher breadwinner. What will I do at that time? So actually, that entails a lot of the details that will be happening at our event, where we'll have first nominations. We'll follow those up next year, I think around April, and then again in December to just confirm the elect. And basically, we're trying to just give the widows a home, a place where they know I'm not alone. Since I met them, they keep calling. They'll say, I've been in an accident, Nicole, and it's from this Matatu line. What do I do? So, you know, you'd think it's obvious, or go to the police station, get an abstract. She's so used to just taking care of herself. That's why she thinks, okay, maybe Nicole will help me. So I'll advise her, call this number, do this. Have you gotten this? Did you get the registration of that Matatu? Then this and this and this. So those small details, like I said, are the little things that add up to the impact of being a widow, and hence the need for proper representation, a proper structure that they know a husband is not losing a spouse. Losing a husband does not make you nullified or negligible in society. You should be able to move on despite the loss, move on and feel comfortable in society, walk into an office or an organization with a request, and have good attendance offered to you. Yes.
This is an initiative that demands a lot of support, networking with other organizations that are able to offer you wisdom and even offer support technically to be able to give empowerment to this special population. How are you networking? How easy is it for you to translate this vision? It's beautiful on paper and it is a beautiful initiative, but sometimes it can seem at the very bottom of the priority list in some institutions. Share with us how you're networking with other organizations, even as you're working with policymakers.
All right. I have not yet begun networking with a voice. I've been networking by creating awareness on our social media platforms. I've been sharing the stories. There's a hashtag trending on Twitter, Widows Champion 2015, just calling out everyone to support them, any widow in anywhere in the world, because Twitter is universal. And I'm just asking them, remember a widow, this is the Christmas season. Just hug her, pray for her, pray with her, send her a love message. And among my social and other circles, I just like to create awareness, especially at this time, that, hey guys, I'm still doing that thing for widows. And most people don't get it. They ask, why widows? You know? And I then have to explain. People who have received my emails are inviting them to, you know, do a CSR that's different this year. Embrace a widow, buy her a blanket. I'm buying them a blanket each. Just because before I've given them vouchers and small fun gifts, but now I want to start addressing their widow needs as God enables me and as society embraces for them. Eventually, we were just discussing how at a certain age, you're not able to work. You should leave, not someone knocking at your door for rent. You should leave not worried about your next meal. Have basic things set in place for them. So after this event, when we have the first nominations, and as we grow, by the end of next year, I'm sure we'll have a good structure of a network platform where people are invited to come and just check us out and see what we want to do and advise us. And at that time, policymakers will be key. So anyone interested, even now, is still welcome to visit our website and leave their contacts. And at that time, we will contact them and get in touch with them.
The viewers will get an opportunity to see some of the photos of the initiative Widow's Window. But before we end the interview, we have just 2 questions. For you, Seraphine, maybe you can give a word to the next generation, because that's a conversation that many would rather not have and would rather not recognize as a reality. The next generation who are walking into marriage, not understanding that this is an unfortunate possibility, that we might be sitting in this position and we are happy at this moment, we are on our honeymoon, we come back, we have these grand goals of being 100 together, but life has its own plans.
I think one of the things that is very important is for this generation, the coming generation, plus us who are here now, to remember that life is about relationships. And relationships in families, in society, should be as close as possible. Friendship is key. Sharing love is key. And being able to remember that we are here because of others. And therefore, if you can stretch a hand and hold somebody's hand, it is good. That is all they need, to be remembered, to feel that there is a friend that they can look up to, somebody they can share their pain with, somebody they can talk about a need with, without being judged. Because many times people may think that, yes, your husband was a man of means, suddenly you do not seem to have means. How come? You're accused of having wasted the resources that he left behind. You probably didn't even know what things he had, whether he had debts, whether there were other things that happened in his life. And therefore, what you expected to find in form of resources is no longer there. So being judged is very difficult. So we'd like friendship, love without being judged, being listened to before you can make a judgment about why the situation has happened the way it is. Yeah, and friendship is important.
Nicole, finally, as we close, Seraphine has mentioned an interesting population, and we'd want to highlight that even as we are having conversations on widows, we also need the partners that are our brothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, to be able to be partners in this conversation of understanding that even as widows exist, they're part of society.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that everything starts at home. Charity begins at home. The things that Seraphina is talking about, that love, no judgment. We all feel not judged at home. Your mom will not judge you, your brothers will not judge you. And I believe that just don't live in fear, don't live in anxiety, but it's good to be prepared. The same way you know that when you're expecting, labor is painful, but you don't stop there. You see the baby that will come. So even as a couple, even as a family, it's that moment of loss is a labor moment for you. And it's very definitive, because that lady could be strung out or lost for those first 3 months. But when she's able to pick herself up, please be there for her. As she said, just stretch your hand and walk with her. Sometimes they really don't want financial support only. They want emotional support. They want simple things as to be included in plans. In the conversation, you know, they don't want to be thought of as, oh, so John died, Mary has nothing to say. No, what are Mary's thoughts? If Mary lived with John for X amount of days or months or years, surely she must be a value add of some aspect. So I believe that charity begins at home, and this is a test, a true test of charity. That charity that should be inborn and outgoing. It's a true test for people to just not sideline them, not ignore them, just embrace them. The little way that you can, a visit, a phone call, yes, it's very
going to have an impact. Give a word to a lady out there who might be a new widow, who does not know what platform she can access to be able to find support. A quick word from both of you as we close the interview.
I'll invite Seraphina to go first.
Yeah, I would like to say that first and foremost, friendship is key, as I've just said. That relationships are important. They are the foundation that has made us what we are. And therefore, people should not feel as if somebody who is in need is a burden. Those who help do not help because they have excess things to offer others. It is because something touches your heart and you want to stand with someone. That is what we need. Have somebody, people visit, call you, even inquire about you and the children that have been left. How are you coping? From time to time, something interesting is happening, a social get-together, a family thing. Call this person, whether they are a friend or family member. Do not exclude them when you are planning, because no one knows about tomorrow. Today it's me, tomorrow it's another person. And there is nobody who can prepare you for pain of losing your spouse. There is no preparation for it. And you never forget. So that when things are going on that you are used to, social get-togethers, family visits, people knowing where you live. Sometimes after the person has gone, you find nobody has ever even paid a visit to you. They don't even ask you where you live. So things like that. Let us make it a normal state of affairs by being there for one another. And for me, God has been good. Praying, having a supreme being, knowing that with God everything is possible. Prayer has really helped, and having prayer partners, prayer chains with people who may be widows or not, that gives us the strength to know that God did not make us for nothing. There is a purpose that He has for us, and we need to find it. Through these networks, through these friendships, we find our purpose, even in setting up a structure that will enable us to be there for each other more.
Nicole, give us the last word on where an interested party can access you, even find you.
All right. First, I'd like to invite everyone. Widows Window is not for Christians only or for anything. It is an inter-everything, interracial, intercultural. It's inter-everything. Everybody is welcome to find us. We're on Facebook. We are under the covering of Borsa Consultants, which is the main business, and this is our CSR that has obviously is slowly becoming the main aspect of the business now. And they can find us on Facebook. They can write to us on our email. Our website is www.borsaconsultants.co.ke. There they'll find our CSR page, and they can just leave their comments there, and they'll be sure to get feedback. What I'd like to say to any new widow or any woman out there who is anxious, after maybe just listening and realizing that, as she said, no one will prepare you for the loss of a loved one, is strive to do the right thing. As that person who was left in the company of the widow, strive to do the right thing by that person. Is it a phone call? Is it including them? I think the breakdown mostly happens after the loss. The immediate, no one knows what to say. You don't really need to say, you need to be. You need to be with them, you need to be for them. You don't need to know what to, it's what to or how to. You need to know just to be with them, remember them, and just embrace them.
Thank you so much for joining us, ladies.
Thank
it was
you
a
for
pleasure
having us.
to get the inspiration behind Widows Window. And of course, the initiative is going to be taking place in the beginning of December. And we're going to be pushing forward that conversation to be able to be part of the campaign to sensitize the population to expand its vision and not eliminate those who have gone through a scarring moment that has left them in the categories of widows. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies, and for the inspiration.
Great.
From the team and myself here at Ebru Africa, enjoy the rest of your viewing right here.